This is KGW News at 6.
The president must be held accountable. No one is above the law.
Look, it's just a continuation of the witch hunt. It's the worst witch hunt in political history.
Boy, a dramatic day on Capitol Hill as House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announces a formal impeachment inquiry into President Trump.
It is a move Pelosi has resisted until recently, when questions arose surrounding President Trump's phone call with the president of Ukraine. NBC's Susan McGinnis has the latest now from Washington, D.C.
Late this afternoon, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced a formal impeachment inquiry into President Trump.
The actions of the Trump presidency revealed the dishonorable fact of the president's betrayal of his oath of office, betrayal of our national security, and betrayal of the integrity of our elections.
The move is a big turnaround for Pelosi, who has so far resisted impeachment action.
The president must be held accountable. No one is above the law.
President Trump, late today, defiant in his response.
It's just a continuation of the witch hunt. It's the worst witch hunt in political history. How can you do this and you haven't even seen the phone call?
President Trump today promising to release a full transcript of his controversial phone call with Ukraine's president, amid questions about whether he pressured the foreign leader to investigate former Vice President Joe Biden and Biden's son. The Washington Post reports the president ordered his chief of staff to withhold $400 million in military aid to Ukraine days before the call. The president acknowledged he withheld aid, but seemed to both deny and admit he pressured Ukraine.
There was no pressure put on them whatsoever, but there was pressure put on with respect to Joe Biden. What Joe Biden did for his son, that's something they should be looking at.
The president trying to turn the tables on Biden, who this afternoon demanded the White House give Congress a whistleblower complaint about the Ukraine call.
He continues to obstruct Congress and flout the law. Donald Trump will leave Congress, in my view, no choice but to initiate impeachment.
And late today, word the whistleblower has reached out to House and Senate Intelligence Committees to tell lawmakers what really happened. Meanwhile, the acting director of national intelligence, the man who blocked the release of the whistleblower complaint, is set to testify Thursday on Capitol Hill. In Washington, Susan McGinnis, NBC News.
And as you can imagine, today's news is getting a lot of responses from local leaders. We want to share a few here. Oregon Democratic Senator Ron Wyden says what the House of Representatives did by opening an impeachment inquiry is essential to protecting the well-being of the country. Democrat Earl Blumenauer, who represents Portland, said this about the impeachment inquiry. I was one of the very first in Congress to support it. As of right now, there are 159 others. The tide is turning. Keep calling. We also reached out to Representative Greg Walden, Oregon's only Republican in Congress, but we've not heard back. However, Washington Representative Jamie Herrera Butler, who is also a Republican, said Americans deserve the utmost transparency with regard to the recent serious allegations involving Ukraine. We must find the facts. I support the president's decision to release the call transcript and believe he should do so as soon as practicable.
Everybody who I talk to has so many questions about this. You probably do, too, as far as what does it actually take to impeach the president of the United States? So we look back through history and constitutional rules to find out.
Impeachment is laid out in Article 2 of the Constitution. Specifically, it says the President of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of high crimes and misdemeanors. With a majority vote, the House, currently held by Democrats, will initiate those hearings, and they would oversee the investigation into any alleged crimes. But it is the Republican-held Senate that would conduct the actual trial of the president and get to make the final decision on guilt. They would need a 2/3 majority vote to find the president guilty. And if it went this far, they could remove him from office and bar him from holding office in the future. Only 2 presidents, Andrew Johnson and Bill Clinton, ever faced impeachment, and neither of them were forced to leave office.
And all of this is our topic of today's poll. We want to know what you think. Should Congress impeach President Trump? You can answer yes or no. We opened the poll earlier this afternoon, and so far, 73% of you say yes. There is still time to vote. You can go to kgw.com/vote or click on the vote tab in our KGW News app. And we will keep following these developments both on air and online. You can always find the latest on kgw.com and on our social media pages.
Another lung illness illness here in our state. There are now 5 confirmed cases of vaping-related illness here in Oregon, and it includes, of course, 1 death. Nationwide, there are hundreds of reports of lung illness linked to vaping, and today the governor of Massachusetts ordered a 4-month ban on all vaping products. This comes as health officials told Congress that they expect the number of cases to continue to increase.
Perhaps public health should have rung the alarm even louder as the epidemiology showed the rising rates of vaping.
We don't know the cause. No single product, brand, substance, or additive has been linked to all cases.
The CDC is expected at this point to release some new numbers on the amount of confirmed cases this Thursday. Now, some in the vaping industry are trying to fight these negative headlines, and they've been posting information like what you're seeing here, truth about vapor flyers like this on social media. KGW investigative reporter Kristen Severance set out to verify if the information on a poster like this is accurate.
This graphic was shared by vape shops in Florida and Illinois, and it's supposed to dispel vaping rumors. It says, today you will hear the truth, but if you really break down these statements, we can verify a lot of them are just not true. For example, the graphic says that 85% of victims have come forth to admitting the use of illegal THC cartridges. The FDA, the CDC, no government agency investigating this is saying that. This also says that the vitamin E acetate was the common ingredient in all of the black market THC cartridges tested. Again, while New York State believes that vitamin E acetate may have played a role in the people getting sick there, they have not pinpointed the exact cause. Lastly, these 2 statements. 1, illegal black market cartridges may contain deadly oil ingredients, and this one says FDA-regulated nicotine products do not contain the deadly oil ingredients. Okay, so this side is true. Illegal black market THC cartridges, we don't know what's in them. While the FDA does regulate nicotine products, we still do not know what's in those cartridges at this point. So you really have to be careful when you read something about this vaping story because new details are coming out all the time. If you have something you want us to verify, let us know. Email us at verify@kgw.com.
All right, Kristen, thank you so much. A big win for the Timbers Army. MLS announced today it will allow fans to fly that iron front symbol for the rest of the season. An anti-fascist group originally used the logo in Nazi Germany in the 1930s. The MLS banned the logo this season under the new fan code of conduct. It outlawed all political sides. Members of the Timbers Army didn't like this. Several other fan groups also met with the league last week. In a statement today, MLS says it will create a working group fans to review a new code of conduct before the 2020 season.
We have a sad and early end to a fundraising journey for 2 local brothers. Mark and Mike Roscom were cycling across the country on Route 66 to raise money for Open House Ministries, which is a family homeless shelter in Vancouver. Well, Mark is the chaplain there, but on Sunday, a truck hit Mike in Oklahoma on their journey. The good news is he is recovering. He is out of the hospital, but their cycling ride is over. The brothers are traveling home in an RV now with their family. Mike doesn't remember what happened, but Mark does. He says it was a violent 45-mile-an-hour collision.
And I believed I was watching him die right in front of my eyes, and I think he died and God gave him back to us and just protected him, because a few inches one way and he lived, and most of the inches the other way he would have been run over by the truck. The guy just did not see him.
Well, the driver did stay at the scene and is very remorseful about what happened. The brothers had already cycled about 1,000 miles on their journey from Chicago to California. You can help them, though. You can donate to their cause. We do have a link at kgw.com.
I believe that the voice I heard, my answer to prayer, was the voice of the Holy Spirit, guiding me on what to do.
A man from Southwest Washington, he got ripped off when he visited Venice, Italy last summer. But he turned his anger into forgiveness and set an example for millions. KGW's Pat Doris talked with him this afternoon after his second trip. He went back to Venice, and I expect this time it went a little better, Pat.
Oh, yes, Dan, so much better. In fact, Mike Veely was a VIP on the recent visit, all thanks to the example he set, an example of love and forgiveness.
A lot of inmates would complain.
After a career in law enforcement as a jailer for Multnomah County,
I have these here.
Mike Veely is no stranger to crooks.
Yes, Actually, I lived with them 8 hours a day.
But during a trip to Venice, Italy in the summer of 2018, he met his match. In a city famous for them, a pickpocket stole his wallet and Mike never felt it.
Not a thing, no. I wasn't aware of it.
He lost a credit card, driver's license, and the equivalent of $500 cash.
Anger, a lot of it.
It was the very first day of what may well be the last overseas trip Mike and his wife ever share. He has terminal cancer. The doctor said there is no cure.
I'm the kind of guy that wants to know, just unvarnished, what's the reality? And he says, well, you won't die an old man, and the cancer will be the cause of your death.
So when that thief stole his wallet, he triggered a volcano of emotions that Mike knew he had to quickly control.
So I closed my eyes for about 10 seconds and just said a quick prayer and asked God to help me with my anger and to get the trip back on track.
And it worked. He would forgive.
And that was the critical component, to forgive this person, because if I didn't, then that anger would be forefront in my mind, right? And the anger would dictate my trip. Without forgiveness, the trip was doomed.
That afternoon, he felt an overwhelming urge to write a note to the thief, something he'd never done before. This is what it said.
This is my last trip with my wife. I'm dying from cancer. You left me with no money and no credit cards. Imagine for a moment what this does to your victim. I have been praying for forgiveness. I also pray for you. Turn away from your sin, which hurts innocent people. I forgive you. Michael Veely, USA.
The next day, Mike believes he heard the Holy Spirit urging him to take the note to the police station. An officer passed it on to a friend who happens to be a journalist, and it ended up on the front page of the local newspaper. NBC News picked it up and spread the story around the world.
And she said, Mike, it's important for you to understand that your letter touched the hearts of millions of people. And I started to cry.
Offers of help and support poured in. And earlier this month, Mike returned to Venice, where he stayed for free at a fancy hotel, attended the opera, represented America at a 9/11 observance, and felt the love of a people who appreciated his lesson in forgiveness.
I'll be honest, I felt adopted by the people of Venice. Everywhere I went, I mean, I'm just a guy, you know, I live in a brush prairie and I have a dog and a family, but all of a sudden, there's just this outpouring of love from the people of Venice.
Veely said the love he got back was way more valuable than the money he lost. Back to you.
Love it, Pat. Thank you.